Oh, I haven't done one of these in so long. This one's going to be a little longer just because I have so much I got to cover. Things have been crazy, but I swear I'm working on kind of upticking, as we get into it. All right, my favorite thing in life. My favorite thing in the sports life world. Not really my favorite thing in life, but something that I take interest in is sore losers and sore losers who hold on to things for long periods of time. I saw this on my timeline. I was like, oh my God, this is perfect. Obviously, we're all aware. Now, maybe not all aware. Let me backtrack a little bit. Heading into Indiana versus Miami, there was a lot of big accounts kind of parroting or signaling this idea that Indiana was cheating. Because how do we justify or how do we rationalize a team like Indiana with the low blue chip ratio being this good and this dominant? This is where we got. Right? Like, cheating. And I think that, like, the cheating thing gets brought up and people are more comfortable kind of floating it out there because we saw the whole Michigan cheating scandal for, kind of, and the national rhetoric and discourse around it. This, though, was perfect because you had a lot of big media accounts, big Miami accounts, and national accounts. I think Bud Elliott, even, whether he was teasing about it or not, floating into the idea of, that was an MLB alert about Connor Griffin, which I'll talk about probably on Fireside Baseball. Make sure you go follow and subscribe to them. But peddling this idea that maybe Indiana, like, things were not all natural. And obviously, like with the internet, they will do a good job connecting nothing to something, no matter what. Now, after the game, I took some time to myself, didn't really cover it too much and like signal loss stuff because time got past me, and I worked on putting together a video of like all the quote unquote evidence that Miami fans were peddling as like the pre-excuse to if we lose to Indiana. This is awesome because we are February 19th. I still think it's insane that Indiana had our playbook hours before the game and the staff didn't know till halftime, which is why the game was so different in the second half. 2 parts. I'd argue and contend at the end of the year, having somebody's playbook is a pretty minimal advantage. Point blank. Because it's not like at the end of the year, the plays you run in your playbook, they haven't already studied. And while things could feel like they have your playbook and know your plays, it's because you put those plays out on the football field during the season and they study them and they put a game plan in on how to stop those plays. I think it's the bigger advantage would be if they hacked into your, helmet comm somehow and like heard what plays you were giving out or sign stealing stuff, right? Like having somebody's playbook, I think is a pretty minimal advantage. I mean, shit, dude, like I got my hands on the Ohio State playbook, like at some point a couple years ago. Maybe early in the year it could be like, okay, like, but at the end of the year, we know what you are, you know what I am. It's best punch. Now, yeah, situational play calling matters, but situational play calling isn't something you're going to find in like a PDF file of a playbook. Here's the evidence. And it's funny because it's like they have our playbook hours before the game and staff didn't know till halftime, which is why the game was so different in the second half. No, Miami just leaned on their big dogs in the middle and were able to kind of muddy the game up a little bit, which, whatever. Again, Indiana, true national champion. Shout out to them. For those who don't believe me, this is the day of the Natty. Whatever file name. This is from an Indiana player, by the way. They have our playbook. It's a PDF file of our playbook. Don't feel like taking 30 screenshots of all of it. This is the first slide and a page of it. This is the hand signals our players in DC used in games during the year. Specifically in the games versus offense similar to IU. The other slides have our offense and defense play calls and audibles. You know what's funny with this is that like the hand signal stuff I think is fascinating, but at the same time it's like you've got helmets. We're not doing a lot of sign stuff. The whole Michigan scandal with the sign stealing like that is like the last scandal we're gonna have of like hand signals being a thing to me. Because call the play into your linebacker, call the play into your quarterback. That's the job. Welcome to the NFL. But again, they didn't have the playbook. Like this is, I think, hilarious to say the least. Honestly, it looks like a tip sheet. Love it. This is top tier pathetic. That's bullshit. Actually, I applaud John Drummond, who I'm not a huge. He used to irritate me in spaces. But someone who loves Miami doesn't really put up with too much bullshit. Our communication styles did not get along in spaces. Wait, Drum, I can say to the PDF if you want to see it. How'd they get it? They could have went to a coach's clinic in the summer. Great answer. Great answer. So they did nothing wrong. Ding, ding, ding. We have a winner. LaHoosier. LaHoosier. Dude, the internet's so funny. Hold these nuts. Yeah, Signal's helping get that one off. Also, it's crazy because, like, Miami said they knew that this quarterback draw was coming. They knew it was coming. They just knew it. They did not have time to change hand signals and play calls and audibles during halftime. It's not how the world works at all. Yeah, this is going to get Miami fans going. Brad Hughes, who I see a lot. Miami fans are still mad. It's hilarious. Nobody needs your playbook. They have game film, better coaches, and execute at a higher level. Bam. Did he get replies on this one? Stop acting like Indiana was light years better. Okay, oh my God. Fucking. Fucking what? They won because our quarterback decided to throw a duck on a clear touchdown throw. What? Right. We can play that game too. If they call 5% of the holding penalties against your defensive backs, Indiana wins by 24. Bam, boom, roasted. Indiana never held. How about all those push-offs on those back shoulder throws? Those didn't exist. Those did not fucking exist. You can have the moral victory, bro. Yeah, Brad. I'm just saying, your defensive backs held all game long and we still won the game. If you need a moral victory to feel better, feel free. We got the hardware, bro. Now, winning the hardware is important. Thought it was about Indiana being far superior. Dude, moving the goalposts? What the fuck? Some fans don't know how to act when they win. Miami fans don't know how to act when they lose. That's the thing. Yeah, that shit's fried as fuck. Shout out Indiana, man. Shout out the Big Ten. Dude, college teams are so elite at scouting. This isn't a cheat code. You're implying it true. Playbooks and repeat signals are clear after watching enough film. Hard part is getting it translated and put it in memory for your players. Bingo. I thought this was awesome. I love it, and I hope it continues. And I hope it becomes part of the lore world. Sort of quotes. Holy fucking cope. This picture of him is crazy. Ohio State fan. Oh, they did. I mean, okay. They got Miami's tight end to transfer like 2 weeks before that game. Miami knew they had the playbook long before halftime.
What's the funniest part? Perk. What's
oh. Honestly, if you don't watch Perk on TV, you don't know ball. Oh, yeah. Just copium. Top-tier school accounts are the worst thing to happen to this country in quite some time. Okay, it's definitely funny. We like it, Samuel. Don't go too far. Miami fans might be worse than Purdue. Whoa, Purdue fans are bad. Ohio State, okay. We probably earned that. And even Nebraska fans altogether. Fuck, I didn't even know Purdue fans were that bad. Yeah, dude. We have skill issue. Oh, my God. That's the issue. The people that believe us. Indiana football being accused of actually cheating. I believe we've actually made it. Dude, I love it. Dude, I love the internet. I had to get my shit up on that one. Dude. Me and Tyler are going to talk about him at some point. Brady Edmunds has arm talent that I think is top 1% hyper rare. Like cannon of an arm, right? Like, and the frame's not even there yet, and it just looks so different coming out of his hands. Now, obviously, like, this is just one clip, but he's got a howitzer a little bit, man, and he's big. He's 6'5". I'm really excited about Tavian. Tavian has a big arm and can rip it. Not as big as this kid, at least at this point of his career. We're talking about someone who's has a chance to be like a really special passer. Now, obviously, like it's hard for me to get really excited. It's hard for me to get really excited in the world of like high school recruiting because this kid come to Ohio State and transfer after a year. Like I was excited about Quinn Ewers, got up out of here. Like I get excited about guys and they leave. But by all accounts, this feels like someone who is going to come, stay, learn, and by the time he gets here, like Tavian, like there'll be a clear and obvious runway for him because Tavian St. Clair will be the guy, and then probably one and done, and then out the door when Brady Edmunds can take over as a redshirt freshman or redshirt sophomore. So super excited about this kid. I just had to point it out because Brady Edmunds' arm talent is fucking really good. Really like that. Really like that. Ooh.
Out of agreements, the University of Texas has said we do not back out.
Saw the tweet, thought it was fascinating. Texas backing out of the Arizona State, Indiana, Nebraska, USC is exactly what is wrong with the college football playoff era. Soft scheduling to manufacture records. Fans saying they want big games, then defend calling them. Make it make sense. College football playoff committee must start, I think is what George meant to go for. Must start punishing ducking.
Out of agreements.
Or must punishing ducking, must start punishing ducking.
The University of Texas has said we do not want a college football playoff rematch with the Arizona State Sun Devils. They have backed out of that home and home. It was 5 years off. Texas fans want you to believe that this is no big deal. You, I'm assuming, want us to believe this is part of a greater trend, and we can't let one of these things slide.
There you go, Ralph. There you go. Okay, so I want to back this up because there's a lot of people that look at college football. They let Texas fans propaganda them into believing the fact that they missed the college football playoff because they played Ohio State. Ralph, is that the reason why they missed the college football playoff? Or is the reason why they missed the college football playoff because they looked like ass for the first 6 weeks of the season? And then they lost to Florida. So them saying, they are upset that they didn't field a college football playoff team roster and results last year. It's honestly sad that we have come to the point that people are trying to convince you that in a season that only has 12 games, that playing less good games is better for the fans. This is the entertainment business. This is a...
It's funny because, like, this is going to appeal to, like, some audiences, obviously. It probably won't appeal to ours because we have a lot of critical thinkers on this channel, and that's why I appreciate this channel. But I think where George is off on this is that, like, Texas is waiting to cancel these games after they're getting an extra SEC game. And so, like, SEC people are like, look, they're getting the tougher games, so they don't need those games. And the other part of it is, like, yes, it's the entertainment business, but if you want to, like, go through that lens, also, like, talk about the fact that, like, we are getting more high-level games in college football today than we ever have because we're getting the 12-team playoff, and because the NIL era, there is more talent spread around the country. So, like, I don't care that Texas is going to... I mean, first of all, I would love for them to keep those games. But if it means... Like, they're going to get, like, a really good game on the back end anyway, right? Like, if they cancel the Arizona State game, for them to get, a Penn State, a USC, an Oregon at the end of the year, I think I like that more. That means more to me. Like, that means more to me. In fact, honestly, what likely happens, George, they likely cancel that game and add a better game at the end of it. Now, the perspective's going to be, well, Chris, what if they win that game and the other game? Well, cool, yeah, whatever, fine. But if I had to sacrifice one to guarantee the other, I absolutely would. Just generally speaking.
They put on a show for your fans, but instead we are trying to manufacture records. And that's why we need scheduled uniformity. In case you don't believe it, I'm going to put Texas' schedule.
But we do have, like, close to schedule uniformity, right, as you can get in this era. Because, like, yes, I agree. Like, I like when teams schedule a tough out-of-conference games. That means a lot to me. But for Texas, they're trying to win a conference, right? And they're trying to make the playoffs, right? They have 9 conference games now, just like the Big Ten does. So for me, that's like pretty close to, like, schedule uniformity.
And they're results because people forget because they went on to go beat Texas A&M at the end of the season. They forgot what the beginning of the season looked like. And you know who didn't forget? Me. How they didn't look good against Ohio State. But still, it's Ohio State, 14-7.
George, breaking news. Everybody in the country knew they didn't look good against Ohio State. Everybody. Literally, everybody was saying, Texas isn't that good.
7 game. And then you have the San Jose State game. Yes, they won 38-7, but if you watch that game wasn't really that pretty. Can we agree with that?
Yes.
And then the UTEP game, 27-10, and then Sam Houston State, and then you lose to
Everybody thinks that Texas was not very good at the beginning of the year. They peaked late.
Florida. The Kentucky game, stain. The Mississippi State game, stain. They weren't even, there was a point in the season, Ralph, they weren't even ranked. And we're making it seem like they got the short end of the stick. And then on top of that, Ralph, their fans are then crying and complaining. Oh, you're not talking about anybody else. Nobody talks about anybody else putting these bad schedules out. You know who has? You know who has 2 thumbs and has every single time
Me.
it comes up? This guy. I've been
true.
banging on the drum for SEC schedules, 8 conference games, 3 freebie wins, and then sometimes a semi-competitive or a competitive non-conference game. But now that's fixed because they have 9 conference games. But now you got Alabama threatening to cancel Ohio State. I criticized Indiana last year for taking Virginia off the schedule. I criticized Ohio State's schedule the year before that. Michigan's the year before that. It is.
Okay, the Ohio State one I think is like super corny, but I get it. Like, you don't want to be like, oh, I only want to like insult. You know, I want to make sure it's fair, whatever. Ohio State canceled the Washington game because that would have put them at 10 conference games. And they didn't want to have a weird thing that like ACC had where like ACC had the one conference game like didn't fucking count. Like,
Soft.
you don't have to prove that you're intelligent by dissing on Ohio State. You don't have to do it, George.
SOF capital T. And I swear to God, if it weren't not cool to share text messages, I have texted Dan Lanning myself. I was like, God, please don't you ever do this because I will have to talk shit about you on TV. I promise you I will. If Dan Lanning takes a good non-conference game off, I will call him soft too. I will, because I am a college football fan before I am anything else about this sport. And the idea that we would give you less good inventory and the fact that you've been brainwashed to believe that that is a worthwhile way of thinking. And then you got, and remember this, Ralph, I know you're going to remember when Nick Saban was talking about why are the students leaving the student section during the Citadel game? Because it's 55-0, bro. Nobody wants to waste their Saturday that they could spend on the lake, drinking, hanging out with their friends, hunting.
Hey, just like separately, like this is really high level work by George. I'm like kind of up and down on George on some of his podcast stuff. This right here for 4 minutes, now there are cuts in the middle. Like this is high level work. Like for young podcasters, it's like, look, get to the point, talk fact, give take, fact, give take, fact, give take. Like I think this is like really good footwork stuff, and he's speaking with enough conviction. Obviously, like this feels well thought out enough the more I listen to it.
Honeydew list, something, watching a piece of you-know-what game when you could have been playing. Hell, South Florida would have been acceptable, even though it wasn't, it's not, you're not playing Georgia.
And the fact that his message is like my big thing with like Brooks Austin is that I feel like generally speaking, his messaging is too inconsistent, and he'll like give certain standards for this, but not certain standards. But like, so I guess like for Brooks Austin, he's so inconsistent with applying his reasoning to 4 teams, right? If I gave him 4 teams and said, are they championship contender or not? He would apply different criteria to each of the 4. With George, I can appreciate him, and it makes me feel like he's intellectually at least honest and intellectual, is that he applies the same standard, at least in this argument, to all the teams. I think that is important, and why I will give this like plus work.
Georgia, schedule Arizona State, schedule Washington State, schedule anybody. All I want is good games. If my team can't turn around and beat Oklahoma State and we miss the playoffs, so what? So what? Then we didn't deserve it. But everybody wants charity. Everybody wants participation trophies. Oh, we made it to the playoff, but you can't win. Texas, you were not a top 12 team last year. No matter what you try to convince yourself, you were not one of the 12 best because you beat Texas A&M. Yes.
Yes or no? Do you think that Texas had a top 5 offense in the SEC last year?
No.
That is correct. Yes or no? Do you believe that Texas had a top 5 defense in the SEC last year?
No.
You are correct. Yes or no? Do you believe that Texas had a top 10 strength of schedule in the SEC last year?
Top 10?
Top 10.
No.
You are incorrect. They were number 10.
Oh, excuse me.
Didn't have to set him up with that one. Should have stayed at the top 5 because we're in the theme of top 5s. That would have been good. And obviously, like top 10 in terms of a conference is not a good thing at all, right? Top 10 in the conference, like holy shit, that's like bottom. Should have said top 5 there. Also, this guy, get a mic, bro. Like George is like your setup is good. Your lighting's a little harsh, but your setup's good. Cool stuff in the background. Camera's good. Got the green cord. Got the headset, obviously. Like, just get a nicer mic. Like, George's mic sounds so much clearer.
Hold on now.
They weren't top 5 in offense in the SEC. They weren't top 5 in defense in the SEC. They had the number 10 ranked schedule, and they lost to Florida. They had plenty of games where they didn't look good. If they were so deserving of a college football playoff spot, Pete Kwiatkowski wouldn't be the defensive line coach for the Arizona Cardinals right now. So, like,
which I didn't even know Pete was there right now. Holy shit. I love Pete.
You can't be like, we deserve to be in the playoff, Pete, you're fired. You can't do that.
And then you got that Georgia game was bad, 35-10.
Yeah.
Had you even played Georgia competitive, maybe we could talk about that. You gave up 37 to Arkansas. And no, it is not just Texas. Miami and South Carolina, they canceled future home and homes. Florida and Arizona State, Cal and BYU, Georgia, Louisville. The only thing this is why schedule uniformity has to be the overarching point, is because you can't have Kurt Signetti up there at Indiana manufacturing 3 wins. The committee has to punish people for this. Has to.
I mean, there's no way to punish them, though. They go unfucking defeated, George. Is, I guess, my only... Like, how do you punish Indiana if they go undefeated and they have a win against number 1 Ohio State on their schedule? Be like, oh, no, well, you guys didn't actually play the enough hard games.
You should get rewarded for better scheduling. But then when you lose to bad teams, and Texas will try to argue up and down, Florida was not as bad as their record was. They fired their head coach, benched their quarterback.
That's an SEC thing, bro. Like, SEC bros, the SEC, like, meat lovers get away with all that kind of thing.
A good football team.
Right.
No matter how much talent that they had on the football team.
Okay, answer these 2 criticisms I see that you're getting from Texas fans in your replies. Number 1, Oregon schedule, Boise State, Oklahoma State. That you don't have the right to talk.
Boise State made the playoffs.
Is it Oregon's fault that Oklahoma State immediately fell off a cliff when they were voted to be the number 1 team in the Big 12 going into 2024? And then they went 0-9 in conference after being voted number 1?
Ralph, people don't want to let common sense get in the way of their argument. They don't. Oregon has a team that was in the playoff 2 years ago and Oklahoma State in their preseason. And you're like, okay, cool. Not a big deal. And then in 2027, they have Baylor and Eastern Washington, and they're still looking for a new opponent. 2028, they got Baylor and North Dakota State. I have always been of the opinion, Ralph, that you should, and mind you, I've talked extensively about 8 conference games, 3 out-of-conference games against the other Power 4 teams, and then 1 game against whoever you want to schedule. That's the way I think the schedule should be done, because it would give us so many data points for strength of schedule, strength of record, conference strength, all of those things. It would give us more data than we really even knew what to do with.
And you want to do like year-out NFL scheduling.
Yes.
Or like if you finish 10th in the ACC, then you get the 10th place Big 12 school assigned.
Because it's
That's a good idea. Wow, my shit just peaked, spiked crazy.
going to create parity. It's going to create new playoffs. Because people need hope more than anything else. I know that Texas fans think that they should make the playoff every year, and people from Oregon are not going to like this, but here's the truth.
That was a good segment from him. I don't want to play the whole thing. Go check out his stuff. Did a good job. Good job. Oh, dude. You know what? I'm going to save this for later. What am I going to do? We'll do some political sports crossover stuff at the very end. Make sure you like and sub while you're here. I do greatly appreciate all the support we get. I'm trying to hit 9,000 subs in the next week or so. Colin Cowherd had this take. There's certain things aggressive, successful men reach on. Cars, a new driver in golf, and quarterback. Someone's going to reach on him. Ty Simpson draft season is going to be crazy.
Released his first-round mock draft. Very, very good. Fernando Mendoza, quarterback, Indiana Raiders, number 1. No other quarterback in the entire first round. So this is what he said last week on our show about Ty Simpson from Alabama. Certainly talented. He doesn't think he's a first-round quarterback.
He's my 40th player, as we...
Oh, let me pause. I'll be right back. Oh, what we got? What we got?
Okay, so Daniel Jeremiah released his first-round mock draft. Very, very good. Fernando Mendoza, quarterback in the entire first round. So this is what he said last week on our show about Ty Simpson from Alabama. Certainly talented. He doesn't think he's a first-round quarterback.
Of note, Spencer Fanu to the Browns, Carnell Tate to the Giants, Ruben Bain to the Titans. Oh, Caleb Downs, Bengals. I would like that. Arvo Reese, Washington. Arvo Reese to the Giants would be awesome.
Quarterback.
He's my 40th player, as we are in the process right now, which I wouldn't look. If somebody wants to take him with the 25th pick, that's not that out of the realm of possibility. And I would think that's not really a reach. He's mechanically sound. He throws a nice ball. He's got touch and accuracy. But when bodies get around him, I thought there's times he plays a little small. And then the guy's only started 15 games and he's been beat up. So those are the negative sides of it. That's why I kind of slot him outside my top 32. But if you're the Rams, you got a great offensive line. He doesn't have to step in and play right away.
Yeah, Rams make a lot of sense. Second pick. My take is there are certain things aggressive, successful men reach on. Cars, a new driver in golf, and quarterbacks. The car gives you status, the driver gives you length, and the quarterback gives you hope to your meddling owner. Somebody's going to reach on him. I mean, there's been a lot less talented guys that have gone in the first round. E.J. Manuel, Kenny Pickett. I mean, he's got a nice arm. He had a good college.
I think, and I don't want to say this too loud, I think Kenny Pickett's college tape gives more hope in terms of like talent, like athletically maybe, than Ty Simpson. Maybe. Ty Simpson is either Sam Howell or Kirk Cousins. No, I'm a twin.
College coach. He didn't have any semblance of a run game to lean on. Do I think he's a big first-round talent? I really don't. I think he's like a less athletic Jackson Dart. There's something there. He's certainly a franchise quarterback if he gets decent coaching. I don't see
a less athletic Jackson Dart. I think he's more responsible than Jackson, too, with the football. And I think Jackson Dart's ability and willingness to like take those like big moments is like what makes him really, really great, actually.
Star. But there's just the NFL GMs are aggressive, successful, ascending men, often now young men. Somebody's reaching for a new driver, a new car, or a new quarterback. It gives you hope. Your owner's on your butt, your coach on your butt. You're like, hey, this kid, this is going to be a new version of us. I do not believe everybody's going to pass on him. I think somebody's going to. We've only had in the last 25-ish years, we've only had 2 drafts with only 1 quarterback. And there's been a lot of reaches. And I mean reaches that are far less talented than Ty Simpson. I mean, Tebow, I didn't even think he was an NFL quarterback. I thought he was more of a tight end. Johnny Manziel wasn't responsible or big enough. He wasn't mature enough. He wasn't an NFL.
But those are reaches for like celebs and star power, right? Both of those reach. Now, the reach that I think he's going to forget is Paxton Lynch. Like that's the reach that it's like, fuck. Like that's a reach. Like Tebow and Manziel, I think there was like more culturally like attached to them.
First round quarterback. I didn't get that one. So there is some sort of mythical quality, magical quality to the new car, the new driver, the new quarterback. And my guess is, for the record, Daniel Jeremiah's draft, I like it. I think it's really interesting. I think it's a very good first 15 pick NFL draft. But Ty Simpson's getting wedged into somebody.
Maybe Dolphins? I don't think you can go position of luxury at 11 there. Ooh, 11. They're the only team that needs a quarterback. I mean, the Jets won't reach it too. Jets should trade down and stockpile draft picks for next year. This is drama, I guess. Mel Tucker's lawsuit against Michigan State's Alan Haller and others is shining a new light on Brenda Tracy's text. Allegations say she failed to disclose the messages to MSU, including her intent to get Tucker to personally fund her business, and note, I should make him pay me $10K directly. Even more, she obtained a restraining order preventing none of these texts from being released. What more is in them that we don't know about? Days after the announcement of Tucker's contract extension with MSU, according to the complaint, Tracy texted Alvarado November 26th, I can't even wrap my brain around $95 million. Sheesh. Can you imagine $700K going to your bank account every month? Every month. We're going to make it happen. I'm going to ask him to finance the doc part of it. He'll do it. The lawsuit claims the doc part of it referred to promotional literature about her business. Tucker's lawsuit claims the reference to his contract signaled her focus. Evidence obtained by the counsel for the plaintiff after plaintiff unlawful termination, MSU, i.e. text messages, communication Tracy did not disclose to MSU during the investigation of her claims, demonstrates that Tracy was acutely focused on the plaintiff's lucrative November 2021 contract extension and hoped to convince the plaintiff to personally fund her business. I can't believe Mel Tucker jacked off to this girl on the phone and got fired because of it. Like, the more I think about it, the more insane that is. And all this kind of stems from that. Before Tracy filed her complaint with MSU, the lawsuit claims she texted Alvarado December 2022, saying her lawyer told her they could not let Tucker know they wanted a settlement, and the complaint would not have a hearing unless Tracy wanted one. She reportedly wrote to Alvarado September 2022, when they do the money, I should make him, referring to Tucker, pay me $10K directly. Tracy also texted Alvarado 11 days before she filed her complaint with the university. According to the case, she was down to only $5, which fucking hell. Fucking hell. In October, Ingham County judge granted a temporary restraining order against Tucker and his lawyers, prohibiting them from releasing additional text messages that Tracy said were illegally obtained. That shit blows me. It does. It's February 2021. Intrinsic's been on this. He does a really good job. He's like a real internet sleuth. Does a great job at this kind of thing. Got me following, locked in. Oh, dude, I don't love these, but creator beefs always intrigue me so much. So I guess this guy, hey, Coach Smook, please tell me how this is possible. Free throws for players falling out, critical moments. Shooting 80% of the field in the second half. It's almost like they don't. I'm all about giving opinions. Shoot, I do the same thing on my show. Criticizing the coach because you don't like the system and pretend like it's not effective is insane to me. Bruh, your show or channel. So we're giving sports takes. Oh, jeez. Whenever someone calls somebody like a bad, something fucked up, I try to avoid doing it like on the fucking timeline just because I don't want like unnecessary blowback, because then I'm forced to like talk about things like I don't really care about in the world. Like I guess like for me, this channel in particular, I want this channel to do well, not for my own like self, but for like my friends that I like record content with. Like I want them to see like, look, like you guys can do this. Like you guys are really talented. You guys do a great job, and people appreciate listening to you guys. Like that's why I do this channel, and for like my own like creative journey. It's like more of a passion project. But I don't like getting in creator beefs because I feel like numbers get brought up a lot when you do creator beefs, and that's not something that I ever worry about. Like people could say stuff about me and my show and my numbers, and I really wouldn't really get offended because to me, I take pride in being really good on a microphone, and I take pride in like being able to be thoughtful, and I take pride in like I don't want anybody to look back at my work whenever my work in media is done and be like, Chris didn't do a good job or Chris didn't work very hard. Like I take pride in my work ethic and the work I put out, not so much the numbers. The numbers will come and go. Numbers are like money, like salary, like all that. But this is crazy. Bro, your show channel's been struggling for a while for a reason, my guy. Just because you say what people don't like doesn't make it true or legit. Oh, you say what people like doesn't make it true or legit. And I think I struggle with this because like when me and Brooks Austin talked, he like made it seem like the only reason to ever do content is to do numbers and get money. And I was trying to say like, no, like at some point you have to make something that like you're really like situationally proud of, and you have to like really like think critically. And if you only make stuff for numbers and you like give your life to the algorithm, you're not really a creator. You're more like a shill. And I think that was like the conversation that me and him had before the show and why we do content for different reasons. And like the pushback's always going to be like, well, I got to feed my family somehow. I was like, yeah, I understand that. But I don't do content for that reason. That doesn't make me less of a content guy or less intelligent or less of a qualified voice on it. It just means I do content for different reasons. And my biggest thing is like, like I could get on here and stroke Ohio State every day for a whole year and talk about only the positive things and like be one of the Sunshine Bumpers, and the channel would probably have, 30,000 subscribers. But quickly. But I think the better way to do it is like to make content that you're really proud of, be critical when you need to be, and, highlight things that are good that a lot of people don't talk about. And when you do that, you're not going to get a ton of like early magnet work, but you'll end up like longevity really getting the trust of an entire audience, which is why people like Juck are doing so well because they blend the whole thing. And on the other side of it, you see people like RJ Young who go one way or the other kind of fall off because they're not making content they actually like making. They're chasing the number. And when you chase the number, people are going to see through it at some point. But that's why I hate like small creator beefs. Also, we're all small creators. Like, don't beef with each other. Like, go beef with the big companies. This clown ass with the worst graphics I've ever seen in my life is trying to shit on me because I'm the biggest basketball primary channel. Do me a favor, look at your most viewed video and look at mine. Then tell me who people actually watch. Also, I have a day job. You pretend to be a pro. Fucking war, dude. Over Alabama basketball. Not even football. Alabama basketball. So you're watching my show too. You don't have to act like anything when it's authentic. You got a day job because you need it. That's a fucked up thing to say. Just generally speaking. If I was regular and not interesting like you, I'd need a day job. Grateful God bless me with talent, both athletically and socially, or I'd be struggling like you. Fucking damn. And then we're in a numbers off. We can go band for band. We can go view for view. We can go view for view. 8.1, 7.6, 4.5. This is 3.8, 2, 1.7, 1.6. Tricky. I never want to get to this place. Don't let me beef with guys. Don't let me beef with creators. Thought it was funny. Not funny. Just don't want to talk about. I honestly just want to get my 2 cents about like why small creator beefs are fucking stupid. I forget what some of this stuff is. Oh, dude, this is another beef. Okay. First of all, real quick, Immaculate View is, if you're a Big Ten fan or a college football fan or a college athletic fan, is the most single underrated account on the entire app in terms of football-wise. Okay. If the Big Ten decides to send out a formal invite to any school in the next TV deal, it needs to be a school with a lot of money, football tradition, and have the market to go with it. Big Ten has not added a small market school and their entire history outside of Nebraska. I have read all the posts about Utah and the Big Ten. I would love Utah and the Big Ten. Utah is determined. This is incredibly important to understand. If the Big Ten expands, that is going to be entirely up to Fox Sports. Fox's NFL relationship and the future will determine a lot. NFL has an opt-out in 2029. If Fox loses NFL content in any way or loses it entirely, I could definitely see Fox increasing Big Ten content. This is of the utmost importance when talking about Big Ten expansion since Fox owns the media rights. Okay, so basically like coins in what basket? A federal college athletics bill, if the SEC does try to eventually do a conference-only schedule, then I could see the Big Ten looking to add to become a true national conference. Again, this revolves around Fox. Okay, so the vision, eventually for the vision for the Big Ten is going to be true, like wire to wire, get everybody. If the media rights bubble has truly burst, then only two conferences potentially getting massive media deal in the future are the Big Ten and the SEC. Again, that comes back to Fox and the NFL. I do agree with Flugpire. I don't know how to say his name. Utah video when he says the 4 Pac schools in the Big Ten have a good relationship with Utah. My personal opinion that is if the Big Ten ever goes to 24 members, I do see them adding 2 more Western schools to form a 6-team Western pod. That'd be dope. This eases travel a lot. My personal opinion is that still for Stanford and Cal, but if Stanford does truly do something with private schools in the ACC, as Immaculate View has talked about, that could open the door for Utah, Arizona, Arizona State, Colorado, and eventually, potentially, Texas Tech to become the partner for Cal. Texas Tech would be really interesting. I think they're on the up and up football-wise, and that's kind of what I care about. But Arizona State, too. I mean, all these schools. I don't want Colorado. My preference for the Big Ten would be Utah. Yeah. I also agree with Flug prior video, whatever, about motivation. You have to be motivated to spend and fundraise to the highest level possible in order to compete with Ohio State, Michigan, etc. The Big Ten isn't inviting someone that has no interest in doing that. That dilutes the value of OSU. That dilutes the value, as the OSU president has talked about. Indiana spent to those levels. Genetics also talked a lot about this. Sorry, but I had to stop reading when you said Fox entirely decides who joins. No, the network partners came to an agreement with the commissioner and the presidents. To say it was entirely up to the network's choice is a very poor choice of words. It shows a serious misunderstanding. Yeah, I mean, okay. Here's the thing. Because I know I've talked to Immaculate a couple times in the DMs, I think he's brilliant. And he knows way too much about the inner workings of, college athletics and conference stuff and the business of college athletics to just be some fan. He knows his shit. He's in some rooms that people don't realize. Flugie is just doing his friend a favor by pushing the Utah to Big Ten fake story. Okay, so Immaculate's saying it's fake. Are you being led by your nose?
You've got people out there saying, listen to me, I'm the serious guy, I'm the intellectual. I don't have a track record of getting anything right, but listen to me.
Immaculate, guys, if he's talking about Immaculate, has a crazy track record of getting almost everything right. I mean, honestly, there's a couple times when I was in Atlanta, I reached out to him and we talked, and he kind of clued me in on the CSC and the governing body and some of the moves that the NCAA has been making behind the scenes, pushing things ahead. And he was right on every last bit of information and really challenged me to kind of get in the underbelly of what the NCAA is doing. And that is why, after learning all that is why I get so fucking frustrated by people like JD PicKell, who all they do is undercut and hurt things, and do a shitty job and help destroy the sport's image because he's unaware and uneducated. And that's what I guess frustrates me. So I am very high on Immaculate's ability to process information, gain information, and talk about the direction of college athletics, especially conference expansion and NCAA rules.
I'm the serious one. Greg is a grifter. Greg is pushing stuff. Hey, Bozo, listen to me. I've been doing this for over a decade. I've got a track record that is because of the work I put into it. Not because I sit there and I think I'm a genius, because I'm not the brightest bulb in the refrigerator. I just happen to know where every refrigerator is in every place I walk into. Because I am the original Minnesota moron, I work at it. And doors open up to me. I'm not pontificating with no track record whatsoever in bullying people just because they disagreed with me. I'm not some jackwagon that bullied people because...
Okay, Jesus Christ. You don't have to talk about what you are. Fucking assess the fucking point. Jesus.
They disagree with me in the chat room or they give me a call. And just because I didn't get bullied by you jackwagon, because you wanted to...
Calling someone a jackwagon, that's like a white person's like, all right, you listen here, pal.
...to control the content of this channel, the content of my X account, and I would not allow you to do that. You have to go off on me. You have to misrepresent everything I say on this channel.
Dude, I hate when people use that misrepresent argument. I hate it. Because when people use that misrepresent thing, And they spend so much time like attacking character and saying they misrepresented him instead of like saying what they misrepresented and like correcting the point entirely. And I guess when I did it with Brooks Austin, he said that to me that I misrepresented his point, but then went on to misrepresent what I said and then went on to misrepresent what Caleb Downs said and took advantage of me because I didn't have the exact quote. So I guess when I hear that, it's like really triggering. When you just repeat, you misrepresented. Okay, then set the record straight. Like, what did I misrepresent? Because I didn't do it intentionally, but I need to know what you're referring to. Sorry, I gotta get dinner for the littles. The littles are in the other room.
Let me give you a piece of advice. Being pulled around by your nose, by genetics, isn't something to be proud of. You understand what I'm saying, muchacho? This is college football's peek around the corner. We do not have all the answers. We don't even have all the questions. But we do not push fake stories. We did not report Utah to...
Okay. Heard and received. Again, go follow Intrinsic. Great account. Immaculate. Excuse me, not Intrinsic. This is I've been saying Intrinsic the whole time. It's Immaculate. Immaculate is a great account. Looks like so the record.
You've got people out there saying...
So this is about me. I guess it's this guy can't stop using his bully pulpit to talk about me repeatedly. I quite regularly have folks sending me messages when he does it, yet somehow I'm the bully. He's the one with the show where he talks about me, and he has me muted in the chat, so I can't respond even if I wish to. Greg is a hypocrite, and honestly, from being behind the scenes with these folks, not a very good person. Woo! Bad person alert. Is that the Yankees game on behind me? This is a replay of the Yankees game. Sorry. Don't listen to replay. Greg is a hypocrite, and honestly, from behind the scenes with these folks, not a very good person. I didn't try to get him to only talk about what I wanted him to. When he was getting extremely political sometime back, I simply asked him to let me know when he's done so I can continue following him again. Okay, doesn't like the politics. That's cool. To that, he took it way out of context. I basically told him, he took it way out of context, and basically I told him to fuck off. Whoa. He told me the same, then blocked me. I blocked him in return. So I don't know why he kept on going around the blocking status that he decided upon in order to keep bringing me up on his show. This is a man that used to call me on my personal phone to ask me my thoughts on things, to make me aware of some things. So now that's the worst. Like when someone switches like that, like that's what Sean Schrock did to me. He like used to DM me to ask me to get on shows with, I think, Boggs or whatever. I don't know. And I would do the show, and like I thought things went really well, but now they fucking hate me for some reason. But I know why, but it's just like a not valid reason they hate me because I didn't think Michigan was going to get the hammer. And it's like weird. It's like, why are we beefing with small creators? Like beef with me, I think is hilarious. I'm going to just like sit in my room listening to a podcast at some point, you know? So no one wants to resort to this level of character assassination with this bully pulpit while calling me the bully. Absolutely ridiculous. The man has one win on his record, and that's the USC. And I do give him credit for that. He's been living up that for years now. He called USC to the Big Ten. I don't know what the hell he's talking about in regards to never getting anything right. If that was the case, I don't think he would have ever been calling me, asking me to call in about things. Ooh. It's the most I've ever seen Immaculate like tip his hand a little bit, like that he is someone of note, of power. He's just an angry dude and throwing out baseless shit at this point. I honestly feel sorry for folks whom are still over their bullying into his stuff. It has simply turned into a grift. Like he says, he's been doing it for years. I, on the other hand, don't make a dime. I just come on here and converse with reasonable folks who like to discuss the topic. That's why I like Immaculate, dude. Just a real, like, for the people kind of people. Folks can like or dislike what I say, and if they're respectful, then I'll converse with them about whatever they agree or don't. If they disrespect, then I block them. It's just really sad to see footage of this man using his bully pulpit to lie and misrepresent me when he has been the one to block me and mute me on a show. He's heavily tied in with the Mafia boys. Ooh. Don't get me started there, and the scam job they try to pull on me. I highly suggest those folks stick to their grift and keep me out of their thoughts. Ooh, veil thread a little bit. I like that. If they think so lowly of my thoughts, then there's no reason to continuously bring me up. For the record, Genetic doesn't lead me by the nose. He just speaks normal to me. There's quite a bit we disagree on. Sometimes he is way too brash for my liking, but after being on that side of the true bullying from Flugler, I think maybe I get it. Oh, yeah, dude. I like Immaculate a lot, dude. He just does a really incredible job. And for the record, oh, this is Genetics. Yeah, for the record, I don't lead anybody by the nose. Immaculate View and I probably disagree more than we agree on. And that's okay. Folks, BTM has never existed either. You can go here and read over the last 12 years. Very dumb take. Love that. I don't even like doing on 3 shit anymore, dude. But fuck. Here it is. You know what? I'm going to skip this one. Not interesting. No, it is interesting. Dude, I don't think Pete Nakos is very talented at all when it comes to like on camera stuff, but he does talk to a lot of people about things. This is 51 minutes long. Is this too long for you guys? Ooh, Panera. This is just like a Sunday topic organizer. Iowa's Kirk Ferentz tells Pete Nakos it's frustrating not knowing what's real in college football. 6 years of experience in the NFL, and a lot of things I don't miss about the NFL. Real. One of the things I miss is a clarity in terms of expectations and what the rules are as we evolved into the revenue sharing, which I thought was a worthy and needed step. We're sitting in what, quagmire, just garbage, too cloudy. It frustrates me not knowing what's real. In the NFL, it's clear. The ceiling basement had to be somewhere in between. There's no bullshit to it. And transparency, too. Yeah. This is a mess, dude. Sorry. I'm just trying to make sure I'm straight. The 57th lawsuit in the last 14 months has been filed against the NCAA. Now, the NCAA has been trying to battle back against this, and I got really mad at like JD Pickell and like the fucking brainless losers who are so brain broken and so fucking stupid that they want to just bash the NCAA no matter what, even though they're trying to get a hold of their sport. But they just bash anyway, and it's like, oh my god, like shut the like I fucking hate. Honestly, dude, I used to think JD Pickell did a good job. Now I'm realizing that he's just a fucking like a grifter who grifted off Josh Pate style for a long time, and now he's like is siphoning like things he hears from Brooks Austin or Brooks Austin style, and it's just so fucking cringy, dude. And obviously I'm gonna talk about Josh Pate a little bit later, but like you're talking about like industry plants, dude. Like JD Pickell fucking sucks. And my least favorite thing about the Crane & Company guys is that they're like bleeding over into that world, and they're just like so shitty when it comes to like being just like cringe warriors. It's kind of hard to explain. But the 57th eligibility lawsuit in the last 14 months has been filed against the NCAA. Athletes have won preliminary injunctions in about only 12 of those cases, but several positive rulings recently in state courts have paved the way for more legal filings. And look, the NCAA is warning everybody, once we get this right, if you play these guys because you won in court, if you play ineligible players, we're going to come back and get you. New eligibility rule lawsuit, Purdue offensive lineman Backney Coley has filed a federal antitrust suit against the NCAA. He's seeking injunctive relief to not count his 2 years in NAIA Lawrence Tech towards his 5-year clock. Yeah, I want the NCAA to win these, man, and I'm really proud that they're fighting. So fuck anybody who's like anti like them getting control of their thing. I think that like the cool thing became like bashing the NCAA. But bashing the NCAA for every single thing they do is moronic when it's clear, at least over the last several months, that Charlie Baker is at least trying to get some things under control. But they can't do that if people are celebrating them taking losses. And I think that's like the frustrating thing for me. Brain broken, all of them. Huh. Fuck, dude, do I want to do this right now? Yeah. Dude, so obviously like one of the big like meaty stories over the week was like Josh Pate doing an interview with Trump. And I might react to that a little bit later. I wanted to at first like react to the thing itself. and talk a little bit about industry plants. Josh Pate's an industry plant anyways. Dude was nothing 4 or 5 years ago, and then all of a sudden he's some big name in the cultural media. Yeah, 100% a plant. I don't think people realize how this works when I call talents industry plants. Talents have to work their asses off to get noticed at all, build any type of an individual following, and then they get an agent from UTA, CAA, WME, or a handful of other shops. Good agents pour rocket fuel on them and open up endless opportunity. An exception is Barstool, which in and of itself is a rocket ship for building exposure, but eventually the people there also get agents. Yeah, I do think that like layman's term wise, like an industry plant is your career outpacing your talent is how I view it. When I think industry plants, it feels like, okay, I am close enough and have enough money to get an agent or to like make a relationship for someone to put me on, right? As opposed to like me getting discovered and then put on naturally without someone doing the networking. Now, a lot of people are like, well, Chris, just get better at networking. It's like, okay, got it. So maybe I feel a way about like industry plants. Like I think Pate is like somewhat of an industry plant. Like people think that Pate built that YouTube channel up by himself. He didn't. Like he was given the 247 YouTube channel and then built it up. Now, with that being said, he got the 247 and ascended once he got there. So I think the planting was him being able to like host a show on 247. But then I started going, okay, like he built a huge audience though, and was able to get bigger than the Cover 3 podcast, which was kind of like same parent company. So some of it's talent, some of it's industry plant. I mean, a lot of this world, you need a good amount of luck to get involved for things to break. But yeah, I thought this was fascinating just because obviously like there's a lot of like negative discourse around Josh Pate interviewing Trump. And now it's a tough one to talk about. I do think Mike Ryan gave the single best take on the interview thing. Now it's tricky, right? Like for a lot of people, interviewing the president is an opportunity you can never turn down. And I won't push back at that. Now, I have my own set of beliefs. I'm also like a very extreme person when it comes to this. And I'm thinking about crossing over and talking about like more culture politics in regards to sports, kind of the older I get, because I think it's important to get kind of my 2 cents out there. So I'm on the side of history that I want to be on. But I do think Mike Ryan gave a great response in terms of like Josh Pate having Donald Trump on an episode.
Josh Pate historically, Zaz, has had a very clear rule about his show. His show is legitimately an escape from politics. It's as apolitical a show as you can have. Now, Josh Pate, I think the world of him, star is ascending. He has recently announced on his social media platform, he taped an interview with sitting president Donald Trump. Donald Trump will be on Josh Pate's show this Sunday. Now, Josh Pate put out a statement saying that when the sitting president is offered to you, you take it 100% of the time. And this is going to be an NIL discussion. It's under the guise of Donald Trump joining Josh Pate's show just to talk NIL. And he goes on to add that anybody expecting a political discussion will be severely disappointed.
Okay, so is he saying that because it's already been taped and maybe they edited stuff out?
It has been taped, and here's where it's impossible to have an apolitical, nonpartisan discussion with this sitting president because he always takes it there. In fact, the one video that I've seen of Donald Trump meeting Josh Pate getting ready to tape this interview is, you think Biden knows anything about NIL? He wouldn't be doing something like this. Already takes it to a partisan place. Look, this president is very slippery when it comes to these interviews. He is going to shoehorn partisanship and lies, and he's going to cut you off when you try to hold him accountable at every end. Now, I don't think Josh Pate wants to have a political discussion. I believe when he aspires to being this apolitical show and wants to keep the discussion there. The interview subject never stays on one subject and always tries to gets his shot up. And this is a real issue for sports in general. Pat McAfee had the president on, and he defended himself. It's Veterans Day. You take the president. When you have shows like this, never mind a show that has always aspired to an apolitical nature, you are further normalizing something that is not normal.
Yeah. I thought this was a really great play by Mike Ryan. I thought he just like killed this. Like, this is great. You know, like Trump's political strategy has been so destructive and created like just singularity, like created more vitriol in politics maybe than ever, because he villainized one half so much, but then also like doesn't want his side villainized for the people that he villainized. And I think that like for years and years and years, people traditionally on the right side were always like, well, keep politics out of sports, keep politics out of sports. And that was kind of like the general call. And then now this president is kind of inserting himself into kind of more areas. And look, like college football is what it is. Like we understand like kind of the whatever, but it's always been like keep politics out of sports. And a polarizing political figure in the middle of this Epstein thing entirely, which is a huge scandal, which I'm surprised that more people are sounding the alarm on, I think is generally a pretty bad look. Not so much so for Trump, because obviously like for him it's about like optics and like, you know, going and attaching himself to like big stars, and he's always kind of been like this. But also like it's hard for Pate, because at the same time it's like, look, like Christian, like I would not want to have Trump on my show. Like right, like I just wouldn't feel comfortable with it given everything that's going on. I wouldn't feel comfortable with the Epstein list. I wouldn't feel comfortable with it in any capacity at all. And I wouldn't want to platform maybe a way to like skate out of, you know, running from accountability if there's something he needs to be held accountable for. But at the same time, it's like career-wise, like does anybody fault Pate for the president thing? Now, I think I can, because I'm a little bit extreme and like radical, but like for the most part, like people can't. I do think, though, this take was the right take on it. Like, you can't have an apolitical show with a figure that is so politically charged, no matter what. Like, people that love him, obsessed with him, will, like, defend him to the end. The people that hate him, and get it going. Now, like, the unfair part of it is, like, it's maybe only this president kind of gets that reaction out of it. Like, I don't think you would get this kind of reaction if it was Obama or Biden or Bush. You know, you wouldn't get those reactions, just generally speaking. Like, I don't even think you would get this reaction if it was like Mitt Romney. So, like, for me, it's like just this president in particular, because he's so shrouded in controversy right now, getting on the show is leaving a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths. So, actually, I don't really have anything to say on that one. Didn't listen to this actually.
Remember that group that promised $50 million worth of NIL money to Sacramento State athletes? Well, now that Sacramento State has gotten an invitation to the MAC and the FBS level, I did some digging on that organization. So in 2024, the SAC-12 was formed as an organization of local Sacramento business leaders, politicians, and others in the community to help propel Sacramento State into the Pac-12. Shortly after the group was formed, they announced that they had gotten $35 million worth of commitments for NIL opportunities for Sacramento State players, and later that number was bumped up to $50 million. The numbers were contingent upon the Sacramento State Hornets getting an invitation to the Pac-12 conference specifically. Sacramento State President Luke Wood told Front Office Sports earlier this week that he doesn't expect that $50 million worth of NIL money to materialize now, because the understanding was that it was contingent upon them getting into the Pac-12. And even though they'll be in an FBS conference, it's not the Pac-12. I also spoke with a leader.
So basically, there was a group that promised NIL athletes, or Sacramento State got promised $50 million if they got to the Pac-12, and then went to the MAC. So now those athletes are not going to get the $50 million. I guess I'll have to read the story.
In the SAC-12, the organization is going through a restructuring right now to support them, to help them with their 8-figure entrance fee into the MAC, etc. If you're interested in learning more about the business of college sports, give me a follow.
I'm interested, girl. I'm interested. Bang.
Worth of NIL money to
I'm interested. Are the DMs open? For like, that sounded weird. More like I'm interested in the business of college sports. Robert Littell done a good job with this one. Oh, dude. Love this, dude. Okay. Michigan judge. Okay, this is the title. Judge has concerns that Sherrone Moore's arrest for Paige Shivers' affair was unjust. A Michigan judge expressed deep concern on Tuesday about police detectives' omission of key details in a warranted affidavit for stalking and home invasion charges against former University of Michigan football coach Sherrone Moore, signaling he may dismiss the case over potential due process violations. Washington, whatever, County District Judge Cedric Simpson, during a hearing, the detective Jessica Welker's affidavit failed to mention Moore's professional relationship with the alleged victim, Paige Shiver. His former executive assistant, the context should have expanded Moore's unanswered calls and texts as work-related rather than harassing, Simpson noted. Okay, so some of the texts and calls were work-related, is, I guess, the... Okay. I'm very worried about the omission, Simpson told prosecutors. It seems to me, if I were the magistrate, that I'm getting half the story. He described the affidavit as, at worst, false and outright lie, or at best, it's misleading. Moore's attorney, Ellen Michaels, argued that the warrant was tainted because Walker relied on uncorroborated claims from Shiver's personal lawyer, alleging a history of domestic violence, while admitting that Shiver herself described the communication as possibly professional. Michaels accused the lawyer of pushing a skewed narrative to villainize Mr. Moore and boast chances for civil settlement against the university. Hey, look, man, it's Black History Month, bro. You got my backing, man. I think she tried to do you so wrong. Actually, I don't know. Don't actually clip that up. If you're guilty, you're fucking guilty, dude. You look really guilty. Gooner of the year, fucking hell. Like, just disrespecting the Michigan, university entirely.
If I have, it's, and I think everybody's right in terms of there needs to be a picture painted for the magistrate. If Ms. Sharp is indicating that there's all of this other stuff that's going on, and so if I'm the magistrate, that's what I'm hearing. Then I'm hearing that this individual says that she has no more to say to him. And then there are these dozens of calls and text messages that occur over the next 2 days prior to this incident. Frankly, you'd be leading me to believe the negative, because you're not giving me anything else.
Not sure I follow, Judge.
Oh, yeah, Judge wasn't playing.
Leading you to
Meaning
the negative.
that these communications couldn't have been for any other purpose. I mean, because
She left out the
it's equally as plausible that I guess that they could be for the purposes of harassment as for the purposes of work relationships. But by placing it on the record this way before the magistrate, you've given the magistrate no alternative but to believe that it is a continuation of the behavior that Ms. Sharp describes, which I don't know if substantiated or not. That's my problem.
I think the best I can offer the court along those lines, with the exception of not having sworn to the fact that they were employed together at the U of M, that Detective Welker passed along the information that was given to her, swore to and testified to the information that was given to her.
Well, I got a problem with that too.
Yeah.
Because part of the problem is my understanding, and maybe I'm wrong, but from listening to Ms. Michaels' argument, I think I was right now. She has the other text messages from those 2 days, right? Somewhere she saw those, but doesn't say anything about them. Doesn't say anything about what those are. Yet, the one that occurs after on December 10th, well, one particularly,
Yeah.
she lays out in great detail. That I have a problem with, because that's it seems to me, if I were the magistrate, I'm getting half the story. I'm not getting the full story. It might be one thing if what was testified to had been, well, these 10, that after that call on the 8th, there were other messages that were sent. They were work-related. And then the 10th occurs.
And basically the judge thinks they're lying. This is so dramatic. Is Sherrone Moore, the issue is, even if Sherrone Moore gets off on this, even if Sherrone Moore gets off and gets the case dismissed, I don't think he'll ever coach in big-time college football, literally ever again.
Information that Sherrone Moore was the boss of the complainant.
The defendant's due process rights are at jeopardy. And taking it from the standpoint.
Also, I feel like I see this judge in all these like viral TikTok shits too. Right? The guy that wasn't supposed to be driving, but he was driving. I feel like he was judging that too.
That is like a CEO and the executive assistant to a CEO. There's a lot of communication there. I really have a problem with that. I think that that was an intentional misdirection to the court. So for those reasons.
Let's manage our expectations here. Today isn't the final verdict, and no one is going to prison yet. This is a motion for an evidentiary hearing, but don't look away, because the judge just granted a rare Franks hearing after finding what he called a glaring omission by the police. The defense argues that detectives secured a stalking warrant for Michigan coach Sherrone Moore by intentionally hiding one simple fact. The alleged victim was Moore's own executive assistant. Those 12 harassing calls the cops used to get the warrant, the defense says they were just business as usual during the high-stress week of the Citrus Bowl. What's more is
the relationship between the parties in a stalking allegation matters. It's not stalking.
They're saying he's stalking him because he called her 12 times in 1 week. That's his personal assistant. Oh my God, Sherrone Moore's got a case.
If the communication has a legitimate purpose. As stated in my reply, and as what Your Honor knows, is that under recently published appellate court case in the state of Michigan, it is clear that the relationship between the parties matters. In this case, Detective Welker presented to the magistrate facts to seek an arrest warrant for Sherrone Moore on stalking charges and on home invasion with intent to stalk. In the facts that she presented to the magistrate, she left out the information that Sherrone Moore was the boss of the complainant. The complainant was the executive assistant to Sherrone Moore, who at the time was the head football coach at the University of Michigan. Why does that matter? It matters because the communications that were presented to the magistrate were 12 alleged. She left out the information that never told not to contact her for legitimate of absence that were presented to the magistrate were 12 alleged phone calls that were unanswered. The 12 alleged phone calls were on a work day. The complainant in this case had not taken a leave of absence. She had not left her job. It was working hours, and she was the executive assistant of Sherrone Moore. Sherrone Moore was never told not to contact her for legitimate purposes. In fact, he was never told not to contact her at all, but that's not what we're here arguing right now. I'm talking about the legitimate purpose. If there are contexts for legitimate purpose, it is not harassment. As I stated a moment ago, the phone calls went unanswered. So there's no evidence as to what the intent of those phone calls were. The complainant confirmed that they were work-related. The one where it says, please answer and call when you get a chance. It's my belief that those text messages were also seen as work-related. Those were not part of.
Well, it's your belief, but did she say that, or?
She said to the detective said, was this work-related? And she said, yes, that's work-related. They showed her the whole screenshot, and she said, are these text messages work-related? And the answer was, yes, those are work-related. And then she was asked, are there any more text messages that you haven't given me? And the answer was no. And that's all in the police report.
Okay.
So.
No, that shit's not funny, bro.
The reason, again, to connect the dots is that there's acknowledged communication that was work-related during those days, which goes towards the phone calls. She doesn't know if they're work-related or not. We don't know if they're work-related or not. It's our position they were. It was a work day. There's no evidence to show otherwise. Because the complainant was able to distinguish between communications that were work-related. She identified the text as work-related. At the time of the swear-to, Detective Welker knew that there was an employee-employment relationship. There's quite a bit of case law where omissions are considered Frank's violations. Heidi Sharp stated that Mr. Moore had a long history of domestic violence against Shiver. Okay. Shiver herself never made those.
I go back and forth between Shiver and Shiver. I think people correct me all the time. I was just like, fuck it up.
Statements. She never gave that information. There is no record of any of that. There is no documentation of any of that. There is no criminal history. There's nothing to support that statement made by Heidi Sharp. Through 3 interviews, the complainant never says any of that and also doesn't support it. She was asked by Detective Welker about assaultive behavior, and she said, no, there isn't any. And Detective Welker, by submitting to the magistrate Sharp statements instead of the complainant's statements, was reckless and intentional.
I mean, like, if the goal here is to, like, create doubt in the story and make it seem like this is, like, a weird, like, pivot job to make sure the settlement or whatever payout, is higher, the judge seems to be kind of eating it up. I mean, like, obviously we listened to the 4-minute clip first when he was like, he's worried about some of the angling and the phrasing from Shiver's, team and some of the stuff that was being presented, because it feels like not the entire truth. And, well, it's a lawyer's job to obviously, like, make sure that, like, you're in a good place in terms of, like, optics. At some point, like, you don't want the judge.
She left out the information that the phone call information. She was asked by Detective Welker about.
You don't want the judge to all of a sudden, like, start distrusting one side super heavily, and it feels like that's what's happening right now.
About assaultive behavior, and she said no, there isn't any. And Detective Welker, by submitting to the magistrate Sharp statements instead of the complainant's statements, was reckless and intentional and false.
It really isn't that it's false. It's that she may have portrayed an inaccurate context to everything that's going on by omitting certain things. I don't know that makes what she said about what Heidi Sharp said false. It's just you haven't given me everything to give context to what she's saying, whether to ignore it or not.
Right. I guess maybe the better language would be reckless disregard, which is also part of the analysis. I think reckless disregard is more accurate. So what's the circumstantial evidence here? The circumstantial evidence here is that it was a work day, it was work hours, the employee-employer relationship was intact. There were text messages that were work-related in those time frames that these calls allegedly occurred. And it was, in terms of the dates involved, that was the week that Michigan had found out who their bowl opponent was. That Sunday night, they received their opponent. It was all hands on deck. So I believe those facts are relevant. If this were August and it was a break from the program, yeah, there could be a question. But the circumstantial facts of the timing of these calls, and remember, or not remember, but I will state that at the time these calls were made, Mr. Moore had not been told not to call her and had no idea that she had even gone and talked to general counsel. He didn't know any of that.
And taking it from the standpoint that it's like a CEO and the executive assistant to a CEO, and that is typically a very close relationship. There's a lot of communication that happens. And as I was thinking about this case, the only thing that I could sort of in my head equate it to is myself and my judicial coordinator. and that the communication that flows there is different than I have with any other employee in this court. It just is, by nature of the position. If I'm correct in that, and I may or may not be, I think it's something that the court would have had to have been informed of. She has the other text messages from those 2 days, right? Somewhere she saw those, but doesn't say anything about them. Doesn't say anything about.
Yeah. She had the text, doesn't want to share them, doesn't want to talk about them because it might make her look worse in this. And obviously the goal is to make Sherrone Moore look as bad as possible, so the buyout is as high as possible.
What those are. Yeah, the one that occurs after on December 10th, well, one particularly, she lays out in great detail. That I have a problem with because it seems to me, if I were the magistrate, I'm getting half the story. I'm not getting the full story. I find it a problem when the court isn't given all of the information for the court to make a proper determination of probable cause. I really have a problem with that. Because quite frankly, I think that the defendant's due process rights, as well as the right of the people to be able to proceed with a validly sworn out complaint, are at jeopardy. This case brings up sort of a different issue, but brings up the issue of an omission. What is clear from...
Man, if you're Pate Shiver, you cannot feel good about this dialogue at fucking all.
This court's perspective, at least, is that an omission in certain contexts can be more damaging, more problematic, more troublesome than what might be an intentional misrepresentation. The defendant wishes this court to have an evidentiary hearing regarding the issues, but fundamentally it's focused around certain portions of the omissions and sort of the context, particularly as I gather from the defendant's argument, and what has been a concern of the court is the context of the relationship.
The thing is, even if Sherrone Moore wins this, even if he wins this case entirely, like, the damage has been already done. Like, he won't coach again. That's why it's like, he can't let his life get thrown away, because, like, optically in that front, especially, like, if he feels like he's a better person that's being portrayed. And, like, it does seem like, you know, he's definitely all-time gooner, definitely all-time wrong. But if he would have just gone out silently, he would have been coaching again. And because he didn't, because it's funny, because, like, it meant so much to him that he crashed out, but didn't mean enough to him to respect it. He'll never coach again. And not that, like, coaching is the biggest thing. Like, obviously, like, live your life, like, this, that, and the third. Like, you know, be there for your kids, like, try to repair things with your wife. Like, all those things matters. But it feels like, damn, dude, like, if you're gonna get off, no one's gonna follow this long enough to give you credit for that. Like, no one does. Like, no one follows these things long enough. Like, once you're guilty, that first 48 hours, you're guilty forever, no matter what happens on the back end.
And just by way of context, in looking at the swear to by Officer Walker, what's clear, and also from the court's question, I think the parties realized where the court was going and should have. It's all set out by her attorney, Ms. Sharp. Virtually every statement is a rendition of what Ms. Sharp said to the police. It isn't until a little bit later into that swear to that you get into particular statements that are made by the complainant in this case. When one looks at the Eichler case, one of the things that realize and where the defense is heading is that the context, and I read it as broadly as the defense does, that context to stalking charge, context of that relationship is critical to an assessment of that relationship and whether or not there's this harassing behavior or stalking going on. But really, I think that the falsity really comes in the way that it was sworn in. It at worst is false and an outright lie, excuse my language in that regard, or at best, it is misleading. And particularly when it talks about
Yeah, he's just going after Pate Shiver, dude. Like, fucking hell. Fucking hell.
the 10 to 12 phone calls and text messages, there's not one mention of the fact that those to which they could determine were work related. There's not a mention of it. That is a huge, in this court's perspective, that's a huge omission. Because immediately afterwards, again, there's like a statement from the complainant about these 12 calls, making them seem as though they are somehow related to some type of harassing behavior because there's nothing on the other side to say what it may be. And then the immediate statement afterwards is a text message that came after the incidents or later on the 10th, after the issue regarding the complainant's home. Frankly, I think that was intentional. I think it was intentional to place a context without saying it. Give the court a context. If you look at the very beginning, that he's this monster, he's this person that's been doing all of these things, been harassing her for months. You lead that down into all of a sudden this day comes along or the 8th of December comes along. There are these 10 to 12 phone calls, which one might presume would be a continuation of the harassment, but we now know are not any type of harassment. And then the December 10th incident. I don't believe a lot of times in coincidence. I don't believe that things happen all the time by accident. I agree. I think that was an intentional misdirection to the court in terms of what this should look like.
Yeah, he's not playing with her at all. Not playing with her at all. Honestly, like, and thanks for sticking along for me with all this. I do these like on my own Sunday nights. I just like try to like recap as much information as possible and like open up a bunch of things and like try to read and just like learn really quickly. And then I kind of expand upon my research, usually like Sunday, like late night, like after dinner, but I like start the prelim stuff. So that's what this is. This is just like a signal loss. Like, hey, look, like let me plot out and take in as much information as possible, try to layer it up. Story not enough people are paying attention to. 20 years after the murder of Miami. Oh, wait, I'm the wrong one. 20 years after the murder of Miami football player Brian Pate, the trial of his former teammate, Rashawn Jones, is finally started in Florida this week. And convicted of second-degree murder, Jones faces a potential life sentence in prison. Bingo, he's right there being circled, which, crazy look in his eyes. Yeah, that's crazy. That's so crazy. Super sad story, obviously. Don't want to. More on the story. A former University of Miami player goes on trial for murder Monday, nearly 20 years after his teammate Brian Pate died of a gunshot wound in the parking lot of his off-campus apartment. Pate, the youngest of 9 children, was a 22-year-old defensive tackle, projected to be a second or third NFL draft pick when he was shot in the head November 7th, 2006. So fucking sad. Police did not arrest ex-Hurricane Rashawn Jones in Pate's death until August 2021. State prosecutors charged him with second-degree murder, alleging in the arrest warrant that the teammates had ongoing history. Crazy that 06 to 21, like that's fucking nuts. Well, that's crazy. Jones, 40, had remained in custody for the past 4.5 years amid court delays and changes in attorney on both sides. He's maintained his innocence throughout. The state offered a plea deal of 15 years in prison with credit for time served. Okay, so like what, 5 years? That is below minimum guidelines in Florida, where Jones would get life in prison if convicted of second-degree murder. Florida 11th Circuit judge spoke to Jones directly several minutes during his hearing February 2nd, encouraging him to consider the plea and asking if he wanted to make a counteroffer. Some people are going to plead no contest because it's their best interest to resolve the case. It means that the gamble is something you're not willing to take, she said. Now, you're a fairly young man. If you were to resolve, somehow your life would change because you're going to have this on your record. But you've been in for 5 years now, and it's not like you're going to get out and have a professional career in football. Jones responded to the judge, deep down in my heart, I know I'm innocent. If that means I have to go to trial to prove my innocence, I'm willing to go there, he said. Dismissal would be the only thing I'm willing to accept. Fuck. In March 2022, Miranda agreed to grant Jones for $850,000 bond and allow him out pending trial. However, Jones has not been able to pay the amount. Typically 10% or $85,000 is needed to release. Sources with knowledge of the situation tell ESPN. A spokesperson for the Miami-Dade State Attorney's Office declined to comment on the upcoming trial. Pate family, including brother Edwin Pate, said that they have believed Jones was guilty since shortly after the killing, and they're looking forward to a trial as an opportunity to finally put the shooting behind them. 2006, you didn't arrest him until 2021. It's going to be fucking excruciating. It's constantly on our minds. We've got to be ready for it and know what to expect and be able to handle it, Pate said. Even just sitting through the depositions was hard. You know, he's nothing to me, and I find myself trying not to give him the energy. I try to avoid looking at him, but there's times I can't avoid just staring at the guy who put the most misery in our family's life ever. Jones' attorney, Sarah Alvarez, declined to comment for this part of the story. From a statement issued to ESPN, Rashawn has waited almost 5 years to have his day in court, and now it has finally arrived. We'll just echo what Rashawn said when he rejected the court's invitation to plead no contest and resolve the case without a trial. Deep down in my heart, I know I'm innocent. Pate's unsolved killing languished more than 10 years before ESPN began requesting police records amid the Pate family's growing frustration with the investigators' apparent inaction. Police said it publicly that for years it had no prime suspect. Someone in your family gets killed, there's no suspect? Holy shit. And no single person of interest. According to police records and interviews by ESPN over the years, teammates said Jones and Pate clashed over a woman. Oh, it's over a fucking girl. Over a woman who had sexual relationship with Jones before dating and living with Pate. The two teammates had prior altercations. One of Pate's brothers said Jones threatened to shoot Brian. Fucking hell. Super brutal. Super brutal. Police records noted that Jones was the only Miami football player to not attend a mandatory meeting at the athletic department facilities on the night of the shooting. Whoa. Ah. Police, fuck, dude. I just watched the movie Mercy. Great movie. But police records noted that Jones was the only Miami football player not to attend a mandatory meeting at the athletic department facilities the night of the shooting. Jones' cell phone records contradict his claim that he never left his home during the time of Pate's killing, and the bullet recovered from the shooting was consistent with the type of guns Jones had been seen with previously. This makes it seem like it's like open and fucking closed. Duh. But he's been sitting for 5 years. And it took him, 15 years to even arrest him. Prosecutors also have eyewitness. Retired University of Miami writing instructor Paul Connor, who lived in the apartment complex where the killing happened. Record shows he reached out to police the day after the shooting, said he heard a pop noise and he saw someone jogging away from the parking lot around 7 p.m. about the time Pate was killed. He also picked Jones out of a photo lineup. In July 2025, police and prosecutors told Judge Miranda that they had been unable to locate Connor and indicated he was likely dead. Within weeks, ESPN reporters had located Connor alive and living in Louisville. Oh, whoa. Although with apparent memory challenges, this was prevented a testimony. Instead, the judge allowed Connor's testimony from 2022. What the fuck? Police told Judge Miranda that they couldn't find Connor and indicated he was likely dead, and then ESPN reporters went and found him alive in Louisville? What the fuck kind of police work are they doing? Although apparent memory challenges that would prevent him from his testimony, instead, the judge allowed Connor's testimony from 2022 from Jones' 2022 bond hearing to be used at the upcoming trial. A witness wasn't the only thing prosecutors said they couldn't locate. Throughout the potential hearings, attorneys asked the state for documents pertaining to the case and said that they'd either been destroyed or they've been unable to locate. Man, a murder charge for this long beforehand, this long, is gotta be really, really hard. It's gonna be really hard, like this. Yeah, fucking hell, that long ago. There's gonna be a lot of like, I don't remember, I don't remember, I don't know, I don't remember. A witness wasn't the only thing prosecutors couldn't locate. Through the pretrial hearings, defense attorneys asked the state for documents pertaining to the case and said they'd either been destroyed or they were unable to locate. Did he have fucking inside help? What the shit? Even though they had been provided previously to ESPN through record requests. One of those was a 2007 polygraph report of jail inmate Bernard Brinson, who records show told the police that a fellow prisoner had told him he was the one that killed Pate as a hired hitman for $10,000. What the fuck? In a January hearing, Assistant State Attorney Christian Diamond told the judge they had no record of the document, but in March 2020, so someone could. A fellow prisoner told him he was the one that called Pate. So we got to find who that other prisoner is. In January hearing, Assistant State Attorney Christina Diamond told the judge they had no record of this document. But in March 2020, Miami-Dade attorney provided the document to ESPN. It is noted that Brinson was truthful in his response. ESPN raised the discrepancy with Diamond last week in a final pretrial hearing. Prosecutors acknowledged the document exists, but Miranda downplayed the significance, noting that polygraph reports are not admissible in court. True. Very true. Which I think, Jesus, ESPN was really invested in this. ESPN sued the Miami-Dade Police Department in 2020 to gain access to the complete unredacted records during proceedings in that case. An officer supervising the investigation said police have a strong belief who killed Brian Pate and had come close to arresting this person at least a decade earlier. One officer said in court there could be an arrest in the foreseeable future, which the police department attorneys said indicated the case was still active and further records thus protected from disclosure under Florida law. ESPN published a lengthy story about Pate's killing in late November 2020 that detailed the police record and included other new information about the case, including that the police seemed to consider Jones as the primary suspect. Jones was arrested about 9 months later. The current lead detective was Juan Segovia, said in 2024 deposition that police did not uncover any new evidence in the ensuing years that gave them probable cause to arrest Jones in 2020. He said it was there all along, but back in 2007, the state attorney did not feel as though it was enough for an arrest. So they didn't have enough for an arrest early, and then 20 years later they did when evidence is drying up. I'm so fucking confused. ESPN's investigation uncovered a multitude of leads that police pursued, including a nightclub fight involving possible gang members. Okay, so we got a gang involved. The reporting also discovered 3 alleged murder confessions by other people, including one relayed by federal immigration officials of a man who reportedly died in 2020 due to the earthquake in Haiti. When I went to Haiti, that's why I went to Haiti because they're still feeling that all this time now. It changed the country entirely. And another from Brinson, the jail inmate who said fellow inmate told him he killed Pate for money. One of the confessions allegedly came from Jones himself, a fellow prisoner, while incarcerated after his arrest in 2021. According to the documents and interviews with ESPN, the prisoner said Jones told him he confronted Pate out of rage, but didn't intend to kill him. ESPN investigation also identified a number of missteps and inconsistencies by the police. Are the police going to fumble this one? Including leads that weren't pursued to the end and people with connections to Pate and that evening that weren't interviewed. And the months leading up to the trial, prosecutors also said they were unable to produce multiple documents. In discovery, police in the county's attorney had previously provided ESPN, including Brinson's polygraph report and a lead sheet that police said listed all the suspects investigated. The sheet was eventually produced. Much of that information will not make it to a jury. Prosecutors decided not to have the jailhouse inmate informant who said Jones confessed to him to testify. In pretrial hearings over the past few weeks, Judge Miranda decided not to allow evidence regarding the other possible theories about Pate's other possible interpersonal conflicts. She ruled to keep out any testimony from hearings over the ESPN Records lawsuit. Jeez. Pate, a Miami native. Let's see. Expected to be a first runner. On the day of the shooting, Jones had heard from then head coach Larry Coker that he's being suspended for the team for having failed his second drug test. He and Pate had been at odds before, according to the police interviews with former teammates, and Jones got into a fight with Pate in the dorm. Got into a fight in the dorm with Pate. Jones told him to clip up. Teammates also said that one time Jones was taunting Pate about his girlfriend, Jada Brody, which led to a fistfight in the locker room. Oh, they were really at odds with each other. Holy fuck. According to a police report on the night of the shooting, Brody said he was inside their apartment cleaning out the dog kennel when she thought she heard an argument downstairs. She left the apartment, went down to the parking lot where she discovered her boyfriend unresponsive. Pate was on his back, bleeding. Oh, fuck. On the walkway near his black Infiniti QX56. In a designated parking spot, she said she ran upstairs and called 911. Rescue personnel arrived and pronounced Pate dead at approximately 7:07. He was shot about 3 inches above and a half inch in front of his left ear. His car keys and phone were on the ground near the body. $100 bills. $100 bills. Jones had said in conversation with ESPN, a reporter and questioning they did not kill Pate. A videotape police interview from that day, Jones arrested said he was upset because of suspension. He had turned his phone off and then changed his phone number because he was worried about his friends and relatives giving him a hard time. Jones denied ever owning or threatening anybody with a gun. I know how that could look because of the situation Jones had interviewed, but I tell you, it had nothing to do with him dying. Jeez. That's a fucking crazy story. You know what? I want to end with that. I have more that I want to get to, so I will save a lot of this for the next one I do. Because I think I've probably gone a little bit too long. Just trying to catch up on my Sunday stuff, right? Sunday stuff matters. Make sure you like and sub. We're almost at 9,000. I just wanted to kind of do some research and some learning, or some quick thoughts as I get ready for the show tomorrow. I think I'll be remote, but yeah. I'll let you guys. Peace.